And we go, here we go from the news capital of the world. Welcome. You've landed on the Daily Objective. I'm Jonathan Honig from capitospig.com, and you're on the Ayn Rand Center. You can say Anne, but it's actually Ayn like mine. You're on the Ayn Rand Center UK's YouTube channel, or you've joined us on Spotify or one of the podcasting networks, but you've landed on the one and only Daily Objective. We are the world's largest, I think you could actually say history's largest network of original programming inspired by Ayn Rand's objectivism. Every day, Monday through Friday, we bring you, I think, some of the biggest minds in objectivists. I think some of the smartest minds in objectivism. People like, Harry Binswanger, James Valiant, Don Watkins. So many more day after day, and really interesting people like Shoshana Milgram, Mark Pellegrino. Truly a lot more. So we're here Monday through Friday. In fact, coming up tomorrow, we've got some exciting shows. I'll talk to you about them in a moment. But I first want to welcome all of our super chatters and our regular members. We've got YouTube members joining us, piling in from all over the world, not just jolly old England. Don't let the moniker fool you. Yes, we are the Ayn Rand Center UK, but I'm joining you from today, pretty sunny Chicago, Illinois. We've got members and supporters and participants in this movement. We are all students of objectivism. We're all learning about Ayn Rand, learning about objectivism. I've been studying objectivism for 20 years, and I'm still a student of objectivism, and it's fun. So thank you for being part of our philosophy posse. Mary Aline, very generous donation. Thank you once again. She's a tremendous part of keeping us on the air week after week after week with original content. And in fact, there's a library of content now available for you with really interesting stars and topics on topics of the day, and it's kind of what we cover here on the Daily Objective. If you're a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK, I'm just saying you get access to things like reading groups and study groups and discussion groups with people like James Valiant, Harry Binswanger, etc. So become a member. It makes your enjoyment of Rand that much more fulfilling. You don't have to be kind of all by yourself in Winnipeg like Dr. Peikoff and travel to New York to meet Miss Rand. You get to be connected through evil big tech and the internet. So join us, be part of our philosophy posse for just a few pounds a month. So we've got a great program for you today. And like we always say, it is ripped from today's headlines, and we're always offering value for value. So if you find it of value, hit us up in the super chat. But today we're talking about something that's certainly very dear to my heart. I started on the weathered stages of the Glencoe Junior High project production of Little Abner. I was boy number 3. No lines, but I have a history in the theater that we'll get to. But I always want to make the disclaimer that this is not objectivism. This is our own interpretation of objectivism. We want to get you to read Ayn Rand. But today we are going to talk about life upon the theater, life upon the wicked stage. Well, it's actually more wicked than you even thought. This was the headline this week from the New York Post. Canadian theater sparks outrage after announcing Black-only performances. January 29th, 2023. Black-only performances. Now, let me just clarify here. Not the actors, not the producers, although they both happen to be Black. But when they say Black-only, they're talking about the audience. This is a Black-only audience performance. Hold on one second. All right. Yeah, it's that absolutely sick, and we've only just begun. The headline now from the news from Fox News. A theater in Canada that receives federal funding, of course, has sparked backlash for offering a performance of a play about Black women next month that is open to Black identifying audience members. The National Arts Center in Ottawa is offering what it describes as a blackout performance of Is God Is at the Babs Asper Theater on February 17th during Black History Month in both the US and Canada, according to an announcement of the event. Enric, who's a YouTube member, says, wow, can it be more racist than that? If your jaw is dropped, just wait, Henrik. And thank you for being a YouTube member. It's not hard to do. I think it's £4 or £5 a month, and it really helps us bring this original content to you day after day after day. Now you're probably saying, well, blackout, is that where, like, they turn off all the lights and you grope every, 5 minutes in heaven, or, you're eating? No, a blackout, quote, is an open invitation to Black identifying audiences to come and experience performances with their community, the theater announced earlier this month. The evenings will provide a dedicated space for Black theater goers to witness a show that reflects the vivid kaleidoscope that is the Black experience. Thank you, Kathleen. Appreciate you. We appreciate you. Appreciate the support. Now, I thought this was a joke when I first saw it. I thought it was an Onion article. And if you're like me, the first thing you probably thought was, so literally they're going to be, bouncing people. They won't let someone in. What happens if someone shows up who doesn't have to be, quote, Black? Well, quote, in spite of his own announcement, a spokesman for the theater told Quillette podcaster that ushers will not be race checking attendees at the door. No one will be turned away at the door, the spokesman assured Kay. So you're probably saying, well, what happened? I mean, what will happen? Right? If you say it's Black only and someone who they say is not, what happens? Well, don't worry, because this federally funded website has an answer for that. There's a little click. What happens when a non-Black person tries to enter the space during blackout night? I mean, someone actually writes this on a website, comes up with this and writes this. Well, what happens if someone who is non-Black tries to go in the theater on Black night? Well, Theater Murrell welcomes everyone who self-identifies as Black to attend this performance. Now, I'm quoting, by the way, this is not me speaking. However, if someone self-identifies as a non-Black person and demands to enter the room, a member of our staff will be present to chat with this person. We will try our best to have this labor land on a non-Black staff member, and we will have non-Black front of house, leadership, or technical and production team members present in the lobby to help de-escalate the situation. So basically what they're saying is, if a non-Black person tries to go in, they'll have someone try to talk with them, and they're really going to make sure that they have a non-Black person there to talk with them. I mean, could this be more disgustingly racist on its face? Could you imagine writing this shit, thinking, well, what happens? Well, we got to make sure we got some white people there to talk to the white person, because God knows, I mean, it's just, I can't, it's almost unthinkable. In fact, hold on. I mean, it really does make me want to vomit. It's really, I mean, Marilyn, thank you so much. Marilyn says, anyone can identify as Black. Well, it made me think, Marilyn, is it like when you walk in the door, do they do a thing of like, all right, well, hold your, like at security, like a TSA, hold your hand up. Let me see, do you fit on this line? I mean, it's disgusting racism. I don't know, there is no other term for it. It's explicit racism. I mean, now there has been some public outcry. Let's get this stuff off the screen. There has been some public outcry. And in fact, late breaking news, the National Arts Center has rescinded its much criticized plan for Black only performance. So this is just now 2 days ago. Earlier the week, now obviously a lot of social media outcry. Thank you, Mary Lee. It's just completely ludicrous. It's that and so much more. And of course, Ayn Rand has a lot to say about it. Thank you, Mary Lee, so much. They're not going to say Black only anymore. It is now being advertised as an event that will, quote, welcome Black audiences without specifying that non-Black patrons should make other plans. So Ticketmaster previously had a word exclusively. It was exclusively Black. Now it's just a performance for Black identifying audiences. Who thinks this stuff up? As Catherine says, who thinks this stuff up? Well, I have an idea who thinks it up. And in fact, I have a TV clip I'll show you in just a few minutes, but I have a very good idea who thinks it up, Kathleen. But I was fascinated when I realized this was not an Onion article. This is true, that they're really having theater nights for one race audience member that are only let in that one night. Well, we do a little bit of modicum of research over here at the Daily Objective, so I kind of dug into this. And yes, in fact, this is the National Arts Center, Canadian government-funded, arts organization of some sort. Its first NAC blackout night. Great, beautiful website, every design. I mean, as someone said this, someone actually sat down and wrote this. Well, what is this? A blackout is an open invitation to Black audiences to come and experience performances with their community. I'm going to stop for a second. What is their community? Other Black people. So sharing anything? No, sharing the fact that they have, I guess, similar skin color. Again, quoting, the evenings will provide a dedicated space for Black theater goers to witness a show that reflects the vivid kaleidoscope that is the Black experience. To me, it's extraordinarily racist. The whole thing is based on pigment of someone's skin color, of which they did not choose, and says nothing about their ideas, their values, their passions, their goals, their minds. Quoting now, creating evenings dedicated to Black theater goers will allow for conversation and participation to be felt throughout the theater and open the doors for Black identifying audiences to experience the energy of the NAC with a shared sense of belonging and passion. Well, I'll just say I've gone to Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago here. It's a pretty well-known regional theater for 20 plus years. And I've shared, hundreds of shows with some many Black theater goers. I've seen them on stage. I've sat next to them. I've been in the lobby with them. I've gone out to dinner with them. I've come with many of them. This quote shared sense of belonging and passion got to me, and it made me think, of course, of so much of what Miss Rand wrote about. And whenever you see something in the news, there's always a great article from Miss Rand. And I'm more of a nonfiction fan. I know that's a shanda in many objectivist circles, but I'm very okay with it. There's so much in the nonfiction to enjoy and relate and think about. Her seminal article, Racism, from 1963, which you must read. Read it today. It's not very long. It's like 2,000 words. Read it today. Read it right after this. Because it made me think of something she talked about, with the idea that these people are all going to get together and feel good that they're all Black identifying, sitting in the room together. I'll quote the whole thing from Miss Rand. I'll quote this part. The bum who boasts that his great-grandfather was an empire builder, or the small-town spinster who boasts that her maternal great-uncle was a state senator and her third cousin gave concert at Carnegie Hall, as if the achievements of one man could rub off on the mediocrity of another. The parents who search genealogical trees in order to evaluate their prospective son-in-laws, the celebrity who starts his autobiography with a detailed account of his family history. All of these are samples of racism. And this is exactly what it is. This idea of, saying, we all have a value because we all share, this color of our skin is racism. But that's what Blackout Night is. Whoa, again, from the website, Blackout Nights are performances exclusively for Black audiences. Not people who all believe in civil rights, not people who all believe in individualism, or people who all believe in racism. I guess it's kind of by default, but it's people based on the color of their skin. And now, you don't have to be a civil rights attorney or have intimate knowledge of, even individual rights as a concept to know Dr. Martin Luther King's idea that people should be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now, I don't believe that Dr. King knew of Miss Rand. Maybe he did, but I believe certainly that's something I agree with. I believe Ms. Rand would probably agree with, but Blackout Night isn't about that. It's about being Black, The spirit of eating is to provide a space for Black theater goers. Like, do Black theater goers have a separate type of theater they go in? You know, I just go into a normal theater. I mean, it's so effing ridiculous on its face. A show made for them, by them. Because, you know, Les Miserables and Music Man, you know, what could a Black person enjoy about that? It's so silly. I mean, it's so stupid and silly and racist. Miss Rand talked about this. Like every form of determinism, racism invalidates the specific attribute which distinguishes man from all other living species, his rational faculty, right? I mean, it's not, you know, it's not even about a theme. It's about this, your skin color here. Again, quoting Miss Rand, racism negates two aspects of man's life, reason and choice, or mind and morality, replacing them with chemical predestination. And I mean, exactly that. It's like, you're going to say, oh, I mean, someone asked in the super chat, and I'm really, I don't know if maybe I have to, well, I want to see some more super chats here. If you're enjoying this, if you're getting a value out of it, push like, and certainly hit us up on the super chat. It helps us keep this coming to you Monday through Friday. But, you know, if someone came and said, I'm identifying Black, do they literally say, wait a minute, your chemical predestination doesn't seem to, your ideas, your mind, your rational faculty means nothing to this people. And if you read some of the quotes, you know, those pull quotes, quote, this is one of the audience members, it was exhilarating to be in a theater with just Black people like me. I remember being very emotional, welcoming them to my theater that night. I mean, I don't care kind of what color you are. I would just be so effing embarrassed to have that come out of my mouth. I mean, do you get really excited when you're just in a space of all people who look like you? I actually kind of a little freaked out. I mean, if everyone kind of look, you know, it's a little bit discerning. In fact, one of the reasons I like living in downtown Chicago is that it's such an unbelievable mix of different types of people down here, you know, cuisines and cultures and accents and everything. So to me, that's pretty effing creepy, actually. Maranja Sims said, I was waiting my whole life for this to happen. Like, what? You're waiting your whole life to be in a room of people with the same skin color as you? I mean, not only is that racist, bizarre, and sad, but the fact that when you put it on a website, it's just, it's such a bad cultural omen. And, you know, Miss Rand had a quote that I think seems pretty relevant and is often seen, I think, as pretty controversial. I think it's appropriate here. Quote, today it is not an oppressor, but an oppressed minority group that is demanding the establishment of racial quotas. And there's racial quotas were a big issue back then, which are racism. And my interpretation that things like blackout night is pure racism. And in the theater now, once again, thank you, Wes. Really, really generous. Mary-Leen, super generous. Mary-Leen says, this is completely ludicrous. Anyone can identify as Black. Well, you know, Mary-Leen, I don't know what color you are. Actually, I do, I've met you, but Kathleen says, the idea is so misguided, right? I mean, the basic idea of it, right? That you are your race. Your ideas don't mean shit to these people. What you think doesn't mean shit. So, you know, it's your race. And we really appreciate all those really generous donations and those generous contributions. And Miss Rand's quote here, I think, is really apt. It's not an oppressor and an oppressed minority group. And as someone who's kind of been interested in theater for quite some time, and I thought, you know, where have I seen this before? You know, why does this seem so familiar? Well, everything goes old is new again. There's nothing new under the sun. And I remembered back to when I was a kid, Miss Saigon, one of my favorite shows. If you want me to start singing it, I'll start singing it, but then we'll owe more money to Cameron McIntosh. I think he's rich enough as it is. Cam, if you're watching. Miss Saigon was a great London hit in the late 80s, starring an actor named Jonathan Pryce. And the show was going to come to Broadway, and Jonathan Pryce was going to reprise his role as, I think his name is, he's the engineer, whatever he is. He's the star of the show. What? This is August of 1990. Gee, how's that possible? I wasn't born until 1990. How do I remember? I was born. And this was a big brouhaha at the time. Actors Equity, which is the union here, finally bowed to pressure from within its ranks and agreed to let a white actor play a Eurasian pimp in the Broadway production of the London musical Miss Saigon. Now the question is whether the show will go on. Producer Cameron McIntosh, who had scrapped the $10 million show after the union's initial ban on Jonathan Pryce, said Thursday he will confer with the English actor and Miss Saigon creative team to determine whether it can still be brought to Broadway. So back then they were saying, wait a minute, we can't have a non-Asian actor play an Asian role. So even that same racism of judging people not like they're by their ability and saying, gee, Jonathan Pryce is like a famous actor, famous Broadway actor, famous singer, huge star. Maybe we want to have him, like maybe he's a good guy to kind of get it rolling, reprise. No, we need a Asian actor to do it. It's, again, to me, it's unbelievable racism. And those seeds were already firmly planted, back then in the early 1990s, in and around the Broadway stage. And as we'll see, they've only grown now even more. Initially, Actors Equity, which has a veto over foreign actors, had denied permission for Pryce to repeat his London performance. They said it was, quote, an affront to the Asian community, an insult to the Asian community that you'd have, a famous actor play a Broadway role. I'm not going to do the shtick with the garbage can again, but you get the idea. It's just all of a sudden you're not thinking about, gee, who has a good voice, who's great in the role, who's good with the other actors, who's a good singer and dancer. You're thinking about, well, what's the color of his skin, and what's the shape of his face or his eyes. And as if the Asian community, all is like a group of people over here, like, well, the Asian community thinks it. It's such an affront to individualism, which I know we as objectivists should really hold very dear. It's disgusting racism. And here's a great quote from Miss Rand. If men accept the notion that reason is not valid, what is to guide them and how will they live? Well, they go to fucking blackout night. Those are my words, not Miss Rand's. Obviously, they will seek to join some group, any group, which claims the ability to lead them and provide them with some sort of knowledge acquired by some sort of specified means. And that's exactly what this is. Like, gee, my mind isn't, so how do I know what to think? Well, we're all the same color, go with the tribe. And not only is that idea now present, but it is, written about. In objectivism, we always believe, it starts in the schools and it starts with the idea, the philosophers. And, this is from a recent publication from Harvard Law School. So you think this is the best of the best. There's no show business there's no business like show business abandoning colorblind casting and embracing color conscious casting in the American theater. So I grew up, you were told, don't pay attention to somebody's skin color, pay attention to the quality of their performance in the case of an actor, or whether you like them as a person in the case of a friend, or you're attracted to them in the case of a lover. But now, according to the best and brightest at Harvard Law, because much artistic deference is given to casting teams, this note will address why a color-conscious temporary affirmative action policy is necessary to remedy the effects of past discrimination in the theater industry. So because there was past discrimination, according to these people at Harvard Law, we need to now remedy that by being a little more racist and looking people as, that's the way to, it is ludicrous to think that more racism is going to remedy the ills of past racism. And I want to bring it back to 2014 on this topic from Cashing In.
Coffee.
Eric, there is no discussion needed on race. I really just resent this whole idea that America is this racist country that we somehow have to remedy through chit-chat at Starbucks. People in this country are individuals. They're treated as individuals. It's their ideas. It's their philosophy that matters. It's not their skin color. We see that every week here on the show. So stop identifying by your race. You're not responsible for things that came before you, and you're not entitled to things that came before you. There's no...
So I hope you were able to hear that. I'm realizing maybe I didn't have this sound thing. Let me know in the chat if you could hear that. So, back then it was, I don't know, it was I was so annoyed, and I still annoyed, frustrated why people are so identifying by their race, whatever race they are. It's friggin' creepy. And more than anything else, as I tweeted about in 2014, it means nothing. It's boring. And are the people who endlessly talk about it. I'm not dismissing any of the ills of racism in the past. I'm going to give you resources from an objectivist perspective to read about them and to learn more about them and to integrate and think about more of them. But race, it says nothing about who you are. I find it really boring because it says nothing about the choices that you as an individual make. And the people who are obsessed about it, who self-identify as a member of a tribe, a racial tribe. I mean, I said it on the air. Racists are the ones who talk about race. And I really think it's true. And the blackout theater people are the best examples of it. How many times can they use the word black in one stanza, in one sentence? I mean, it's they're obsessed with it. Jonathan Honig, you nailed it. Only racists talk race. I mean, endlessly, over and over and over again. And that was a point that I was really trying to make, as I said, in 2014, we're talking about almost 9 years ago, but seems to have really fallen on deaf ears since.
Of advocating for, Juan, that's what is America. But when you start coming out and talking about white people have these issues, black people have this issues, that's seeing people, that's identifying people by their skin color, which has no relevance on who they are or what they do with their lives.
It's just it. So, I mean, stop looking at people by their race. And in fact, I'll do a personal anecdote here. I happen to have a friend. Now, I know everyone says that in every discussion of race, like, I have a friend. Well, I'm just telling you a story. I do have a friend. Now, this is not my real friend, but this is a not totally dissimilar photo of what my friend happens to look like. He happens to be a professor, and he is from a Caribbean country. And he has told the story many times to me that when he's in his Caribbean place that he was born, he's seen as being white. And when he's in America, he's seen as being black. And he's obviously the same color wherever he goes. And I just know him as my friend, but this whole concept of white and black, and Dr. Brooke has talked about this quite a bit, that he dismisses the whole concept of race. I really encourage you to check out Dr. Brooks' comment on this as well. But the point is that we're talking about an actor here. We're talking about a performance on a stage. What is an actor? It is someone who pretends. Wait. Let me just go in and make sure I have it. Someone who pretends to be someone else while performing in a movie, play, or television or radio program. Right. This is it. Blackout theater. It's an actor. It's someone who pretends. Idina Menzel is not Elphaba. She is pretending to be a witch. Paul Robeson was not a slave in Showboat. He was pretending to be a different person, a part. He was playing a part. He's an actor. Patty Duke was not really deaf, dumb, and blind in The Miracle Worker. She was an actress. She is an actress. So this is what the stage is. You are portraying someone else, and it's pretty magical when it can be done and be done well. But racism negates all of that. Ms. Rand, racism claims that the content of a man's mind, not his cognitive apparatus, but its content, is inherited, that a man's convictions, values, and character are determined before he was born by physical factors beyond his control. Blacks only, no. White, sorry. And that's exactly what this is. This is the caveman's version of the doctrine of ideas. And that's exactly what this is. It is, as Ms. Rand put it, a barnyard or stock farm version of collectivism. One of my favorite lines, appropriate to a mentality that differentiates between various breeds of animals, not between animals and men. And when you get right down to it, imagine the waiting room at the theater at Blackout Night. Everyone conjuring around. It's time to go in for the show. And this is what they're doing. They're saying, oh no, all the white animals over there, all the black animals over there, it's looking at human beings like cows. So let's all do it together one more time and just vomit in our mouths, because it should be absolutely dismissed. It should be, it's disgusting, and you should dismiss it at every opportunity. Now, it's about past now. You're with the Daily Objective. I'm Jonathan Hoenig from the Ayn Rand. Well, I'm from the Ayn Rand Center UK. I'm also from capitalistpig.com and cpdollarhedge.com. Visit us at cpdollarhedge.com. I want to invite you to show your love. We have had an original programming from you, ripped from the headlines today from the Ayn Rand Center UK, coming to you free of charge. So if you're getting anything out of it, either currently or after the fact, show us some love in the chat, in the super chat, and the after chat, because we're here Monday through Friday trying to bring you original programming inspired by Ayn Rand's objectivism, because it's made our life so much better. You know, I don't have white guilt. I don't have, racism is race is such a small part of my life. I really don't think about it. And I'm frustrated and offended by people who build their lives around it. But read Miss Rand's article. And in fact, what you'll find is that the more you dig, unfortunately, into theater, Dr. Brooks says we get the politicians we deserve, and we certainly get the culture we deserve, because this idea, this tribal collectivism, is not simply exclusive to this one theater in Canada. I happened to be reading an article in Bloomberg over the weekend. I'm an architecture buff, so they were writing an article about an interesting new theater in Brooklyn, which is old meets new and construction, kind of interesting looking. So, they talked about it. They described it as the theatrical startup called the Mercury Store. So I thought, gee, I'm in New York pretty frequently. I like the theater. Let me go check out the Mercury Store. Like, maybe it's something interesting and I could see this nice building. Go to the Mercury Store website, and there is no theater at all. There's a big orange warning sign, disclaimer sign, very abrupt, right in your face. It's kind of a pop-up. What is it? Well, I'll give you just some of the highlights now. We protest against injustice and oppression everywhere. All isms and phobias, racism, sexism, ableism, ageism, queerphobia are abhorrent. We work to allow oppressed artists to tell their story as they wish to tell it. The Mercury Store believes Black Lives Matter. The Mercury Store believes Black trans lives matter. The Mercury Store believes that we must work harder to stop Asian hate. We are committed to playing our part in the present and future struggles against systematic and institutional racism and white supremacy. And you're like, damn, I was just looking for, when is West Side Story playing? When is Fiddler on the Roof? Or it's like, you're there for a theater space, and it's just this. The Mercury Store sits on unceded land of the Lenape and Kansare nations. This land was built and developed on the uncompensated labor of enslaved Black people. This is kind of their topic sentence, if you will. It's this endless apology for, every transsectional group going back for, this is going back, I don't know. And what exactly are they apologizing for? I don't know. We believe people of color do not need to explain themselves to a white audience. Straight up disgusting racism. We believe in compensation for all artists and activists who work on our behalf. Okay, I like that. I do like that, I guess. Sometimes just being there is compensation. I did a lot of internships when I was a kid. The Mercury Store is a predominantly white organization. Let me just take that back. I don't like any of this. This must change. We know this statement is a work in progress and a living document. The whole thing is just inconsequential. It's unpenetrable. It's irrational. Throw it out. And what I recommend in its place is a wonderful documentary you can get from your device right now. A wonderful show and documentary with people from all different colors and backgrounds and stories. And that's what makes it a great part of the theater. Every little step is a documentary about the remaking of A Chorus Line, which I think is one of the best performances and shows of all time. I don't know, I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm not going to zoom in, but there's people, don't worry. It's, well, I don't know, if you're offended by, I guess, if you can take seeing all different types of people together, you're going to like it. I mean, this show is amazing. This is what you should be watching, not a blackout show or whiteout show or any of this shit. Just watch a great show. And more than anything, read Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is just the voice of the ages and the voice and the ideas you should be reading. And start with racism. This is a short read. It's available for free on the Ayn Rand Institute website from 1963. Definitely check that out. And I have to say, pick up a new textbook of Americanism. Well, you know what it looks like. There's it right there. Amy Peikoff has a wonderful essay in that book called Why Racial Prejudice is Un-American. Ms. Rand asked the question. Dr. Peikoff answered it, I think, very well in the book, A New Textbook of Americanism. And more than anything else, we thank you so much for supporting the Ayn Rand Center UK. We are here only because of those donations. We are not unlike the, the guys over at the Canadian government-funded theater company, we are not supported by any government. We're supported just simply by your donations. So thank you for making us part of your day. Leave a like, subscribe. Every time we have a new show, you get a little pop-up. Hit us up in the super chat. I mean, every 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 50 pounds, it means so much. We have 1 and 2 gentlemen who are traveling the world, doing everything they can to keep this going. And in fact, tomorrow we have 5 things I would ask Ayn Rand. Imagine if Ayn Rand came back. And, I remember Dr. Peikoff was asked this question once. And his answer, I think, was, what do you think of the dim hypothesis? I believe that's true. You might want to check his podcast. And they asked, he was asked what he thought Miss Rand's first question would be. Do you know what he thought it would be? Where's Frank? I thought that was so beautiful. He thought her first question, well, did Frank come too? Because he loved her husband. She loved her husband so much. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're going to talk with a big fan favorite, Millennial Rand fan, to find out why are there not more Millennial Rand fans? Where are they all? They've had the books. They've had a chance to read her. Why are they not? Maybe perhaps it's earlier than we think. So thank you for being part of what we're doing. Doug is a member. Bonnie is a member. Robert is a member. Kathleen is a member. Wes, all your generous donations and support. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 6 p.m. UK for the Ayn Rand Center UK and the Daily Objective. Till then, Jonathan Hoenig wishing you best premises.